Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Jason Wood at 11 o'clock Comics, and coming back to you with our monthly look at the previews catalogs. And as you see here, this is technically not a previews catalog because it's DC's, and DC calls it the Connect catalog, but you get the idea. So we're going to look at what DC is going to be offering for the month of May 2023 and beyond. Of course, this being the March catalog 2 months beforehand. I have to say that it's probably the most excited I've been for a DC Connect in some time. And I find that's often the case when either Marvel or DC go through a bit of a reboot, as DC just did. You get lots of new creative teams, new titles, rebrandings, reboots, and I think that makes for exciting times. Now, it doesn't mean that they're all going to be hits, but it does definitely amp up the anticipation meter for a time. So let's jump right in. As we were discussing, we are in the dawn of DC, which is coming out of the recent Crisis event, and we're going to get a bunch of new titles that I think, for the most part, look quite interesting. First and foremost, we've got Titans #1. Now, what's interesting here is it's in the solicits it says that Dark Crisis is over and the Justice League is no more. So it looks like, at least for a time, DC is going to position the Titans as the premier superhero team in the universe, and that's pretty cool, I have to say. I was late to being a DC reader. I read Marvel for almost 20 years exclusively. I was a Marvel versus DC kind of kid growing up, and only had the budget to commit to one of them, and it was Marvel. But in adulthood, when I had some more Skrilla, I began reading both lines quite voraciously. And so I'm probably only a hardcore DC reader for maybe just a little under 20 years, which I know sounds like a long time to some of you, but keep in mind I've been reading Marvel Comics for 35 years. Point being, one of the first titles that I fell in love with was Jeff Johns' run on the Teen Titans, and that's really one of my gateways into being a DC fan. So very excited to see Titans #1, which is written by Tom Taylor. And if you are familiar at all with our podcast or my videos, you know that I have thought for a long time that Tom Taylor's work on Nightwing is among the best superhero comics on the stands. So the fact that he is parlaying that into handling the whole team is super exciting to me. As you can see here on the cover, it looks like we've got the classic team, right? You've got Raven, Flash, you've got obviously Dick, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Starfire, and Wonder Girl. So yeah, it's everything you could ask for. And the cherry on top of this beautiful superhero Sunday is that Nicholas Scott is doing the art. Nicholas Scott has been relatively quiet in the world of comics the last bunch of years, although she did recently come back and do Wonder Woman Historia. But it's nice to see her back on a monthly book, because there was a time when she was one of DC's go-to artists. Now, I am not the biggest Shazam fan, but if you're going to lure me into trying a Shazam book that might stick, this is the way to do it. You give me Mark Waid as the writer, and then you give me Dan Mora drawing the book, and I'm going to at least give it a solid try for the first arc. They are both powerhouses. They are great together. They've been doing great work in World's Finest, and I think they could vault Shazam into prominence in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time. Probably the last time I think Shazam held a prominent position, at least from my vantage, was back when we were getting the 52 miniseries, which Waid was one of the 4 main writers of that as well, so he knows the characters well. And Dan Mora can do no wrong. He's certainly one of the best superhero artists of this generation. And like I said, the hits just keep on coming. I have always enjoyed Green Lantern, but admittedly, I haven't read it regularly in some time. I certainly, like many, loved the Sinestro Corps War and the Black Lantern stuff when Jeff Johns was at the helm. That's the last time I viewed Green Lantern as must read. So it's been a while, it's been a minute. But we've got a new rendition here, written by Jeremy Adams with art by Harmonico. I don't know much of their respective resumes, so this is more about the title and seeing if they can get me reinterested in the line. And of course it helps that the Green Lantern in question is Hal Jordan, so I know that my man King Dap is going to be excited about that too. So we've got Batman, the Brave and the Bold, #1. This is a anthology series. It's written by Tom King, Ed Brisson, Christopher Cantwell, and Dan Mora, with art by Mitch Gerrits, Jeff Spokes, Javier Rodriguez, and Dan Mora. So I'm guessing Dan is writing and drawing his own story in this. It's cool to see. A big fan of anthologies, and I often mock Marvel for having too many Spider books and DC for having too many Bat books, but admittedly, there's a reason for that, and I do read a couple Gotham books every month, like I'm sure many of you do, and this is one I will absolutely be trying because I dig a good anthology. Now, here is the first whiff for me. I just have never particularly cared for Cyborg as a standalone character, and I just don't see myself investing in this, particularly when I'm about to get plenty of Cyborg in the aforementioned Titans book. Now, this is pretty cool. There's a concerted effort in this DC reboot to raise the profile of Asian-based characters in the DCU, and I think that's a wonderful idea. I believe they're calling, the We Are Legends, they're calling it. So there's a number of them that we're going to go through. This one looks, of the ones we're going to go through, this is probably the one I think has got the most potential. It's called Spirit World. It is written by Alyssa Wong, with art by Hai Ning. And it's effectively a story about a relatively new character. They were introduced in the Lazarus Project series a few months back. And they are, their name is, I don't know if I'm saying it right, it's Xanthe, Xanthe. And their superpower is being able to burn items folded from joss paper and immediately turn them into real objects. So that is a case of DC taking a legitimate Southeast Asian art form in joss paper and make it into a power. I think that's very smart, and the solicit art that we see here is stunning. So I have high hopes that this could be a sleeper hit. The second book in the We Are Legends launch is called The Vigil, written by Ram V, with art by Lalit Kumar Sharma. As you can see, the solicit art looks quite good. And this one is a number of mysterious soups are basically going after evil technology, taking it down. So sort of like an anti-corporate type of an angle. Not sure if this one is as, it's harder for me to envision this as being a sustained commercial hit given the premise, but as I said, the art and the creative team look good. So I will definitely give it a try and see if it sticks. And then the third and final of the We Are Legends books is City Boy, which is probably the strangest of the three. It's written by Greg Pak with art by Min-Kyun Jung. And City Boy is a hero that can speak to cities, effectively like as if they're, I guess, living beings, somewhat, I guess, like it would be with the mutants in talking to Krakoa, but I'm not sure how that manifests, but apparently he can communicate with cities and also manifest powers from them. And, again, it's a unique idea. Not sure if it's a little too high concept to stay on the shelves for long, but certainly given the idea behind it and that Greg Pak is a proven commodity, I will definitely give this one a try too. We're going to go through pretty quickly some of those other pages because they're not as appealing to me. I am reading, I did mention that I am on board for the new Green Arrow book, Josh Williamson and Sean Izakse. The second issue is solicited. Of course, Nightwing continues to be at the top of my stack. The first issue of the new Superman by Josh Williamson and Jamal Campbell was awesome, so hopefully that continues apace. I actually have this week, Adventures of Superman, John Kent #1 arrives, so I'll be giving that a read this week to see what's doing. So don't know if I'm excited for that yet, but certainly hope to be after reading the first issue. I'm checking out the Unstoppable Doom Patrol. We haven't gotten the first issue yet, but #3 is solicited here. I think we'll be getting issue #1 in 2 or 3 weeks. Now, here is an absolute must for me. Batman White Knight presents Generation Joker #1. You have to hand it to Sean Murphy. He's getting quite long with these titles, but that is what it is. This is written by Sean Murphy, as well as Katana Collins, who is his wife, if you all didn't know that, and Clay McCormick. And the neat thing here is that this series is being drawn by Mirka Andolfo. Matteo Scalera has done 2 series in this universe for them. Obviously, Sean Murphy draws some of the series himself. It's just had stellar art throughout, and Mirka is certainly of a caliber that she'll step right into that role quite aptly, I think. So I do very much enjoy the Batman White Knight pocket universe that Sean Murphy's been handling for, what, a good 6-7 years now, I think. This looks like an absolute blast. Peacemaker Tries Hard. This is #1 of a 6-issue limited series written by Kyle Starks, who can do no wrong right now as far as I'm concerned. We've all been talking about him quite a bit on the podcast lately. And we just talked about I Hate This Place, which had its 6th issue come out last week. And, obviously he just is great with humor. And I think DC's really smart to parlay the wild success of the James Gunn TV show into a reimagining of Peacemaker into the comics form. And the art is by Steve Pugh, who's perfect for this kind of comic. So super excited for this. 6 issues, like I said, and I'd be stunned if I didn't find this to be top-notch. I'm off on that. Really no interest in reading more Suicide Squad at the moment. I am not reading the current Sandman stuff. For those of you that are waiting for the collected editions, you've got the second half hardcover that brings you the last 6 issues of The Human Target. So certainly that is a thumb up. We've got some more collected editions, none that I think I am getting, but we will go through them quickly just to see. It's interesting. I've recommended these Batman One Bad Day one-shots. I don't quite know if there's a market for 88-page hardcovers, which are essentially, one like oversized single issue in a hardcover. We'll see if there is a market for this. I really would be surprised, but props to DC for taking a chance on making something very archival out of a relatively small amount of content. We have a YA book about Alfred, which is not designed for me as a reader, but is something that I think could be appealing, especially if you have the young kiddos who like to read the superhero comics. I will point out that Sam Lotfi is the artist, and I know Sam a bit from online. I have a couple commissions from him. Very nice dude. I would say it's fair to call this his big break, so I'm rooting for him. I hope it's a wild success. Then we've got some more collected editions of archival stuff. This is probably of interest to some of you, particularly I know Vince will be interested in this. It is a collection of the 3 Batman TMNT miniseries that have come out in the last few years. You've got, I believe, it's 18 issues, so 3 6-issue miniseries. And they were written by James Tynion and Ryan Ferrier, but the art is primarily by Freddie Williams with a couple assists from Kevin Eastman. So I know that does appeal to many. And then we've got the rest of the single issue solicits of Smallies. I'm not reading any of these at the moment. Just quickly go through what I am reading. Continue to read World's Finest. Continue to read Danger Street, the Tom King miniseries with Jorge Fornes. Fables this is the 10th of 12 issues of the Fables return. So far, so good. Justice Society, yes. I am reading Poison Ivy now. I was very late to the party, but a month or two ago I read the first 8 issues and was quite smitten with it. And I believe that is it for that. We've got some more collected editions. So I don't think I'm getting any of these. I will point out that some of these absolutes are great. If you don't already have, these are reprints, but if you don't already have an absolute of some of these, they're certainly worth it. Preacher in particular and Transmet are both all-time great series that are worthy of the absolute treatment. And you've got a Green Lantern Corps omnibus. I personally think that that is the best Green Lantern Corps run ever, the Tomasi Gleason run. So your mileage may vary, but it's definitely worthy of a omnibus collection, I think. And there you have it. Now, again, this is a bit of a longer DC Connect video for me. I'm quite excited by what they're offering this month, and hopefully they can parlay this reboot and all of these new #1s into increased and sustained momentum. So there you have it. That's what's going on in DC for the month. Let me know what you're excited about, and I will be back talking the Distinguished Competition again next month.